Hello, welcome everyone to another episode of Halloween Evil Lives Live. I'm your host, Michael, and I have a very special guest this evening. One that you say has a howling beast living in his property. Hi, Mr. Lee Hampel. Welcome to the show.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you for having me. And yes, sometimes he does howl out there. Absolutely, on my farm in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. You could call him the howling Beast of Bray Road.
Yes, that's right, folks. The Beast of Bray Road, one of Wisconsin's famous werewolves, man wolves or dog man. Lee, if you want to give us a little background about your situation down there in Elkhorn.
Sure, sure. Uh, in 2007, I was looking to buy some property in southern Wisconsin, and my wife and we have I live down in northern Illinois, and there we had at that time we had a horse boarding riding academy operation, and I had 40 horses that I had to feed, and I was renting land, so I was looking to buy some land to bale hay on to make hay for my horses in northern Illinois. And in that process, I found these 35 acres near Elkhorn, Wisconsin in 2007. And through my help with my mother's estate, we were able to purchase that property in August of 2007. I was just looking for land to be able to bale hay on, and it's 35 acres from my home in northern Illinois. But sometimes you get more than what you bargain for. So, I mean, I had the property in 2007, and I did not farm there until 2011. So I had a neighbor who was share farming, cropping with me in 2008, 2009, 2010, and yeah, I started farming there in 2011. And in 2012, I farmed there. 2013, I farmed there. And nobody in those 5, 6 years, nobody said anything about a Beast of Bray Road or a werewolf uh, on my property or on my property and the neighbor's property right there. Nobody said anything until September of 2013.
And initially you were skeptical, right?
Oh yeah, I was a mathematics teacher, computer science teacher. Um, you heard of Bigfoot and stuff, and I just kind of dismissed it. The one film from California, the um, what is the what is that film called? The one that's famous where the two cowboys took a picture of it walking.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I forgot the name itself. But
Yeah,
the one where
yeah. I
he's
mean,
walking between the redwood trees,
yeah,
Bigfoot.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
they showed it on TV some, but no, I had no interest in it. It was, skeptic, sure, because I was not in my portfolio at that time, and I just didn't show interest in it or have any interest in it.
so what was your first encounter with the man wolf or dog man that you remember?
Well, I mean, well, 2013. I'll lead up to that a little bit, Michael. 2013, September, I cut my hay, and I was ready to bale it, and it was a Sunday, and I called up. I had some guys from Northern Illinois here who helped me, and I called them and I said, "Hey, can you guys help bale hay Sunday?" This was like on Friday, because I knew it'd be ready to bale on Sunday. They go, "No, no, no, no." I go, "Why not?" They said, "Well, the Bears are playing the Packers." I'm not a big Bear fan or football fan. I'm a the Bulls fan. But I said, "Oh man, so you guys can't help?" No, 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 we can't help. I go, "Okay." Then I had a couple of guys in Elkhorn who also had been helping me bale hay, and I called them and I said, "Hey, can you guys help bale hay on Sunday?" They go, "No, nope, nope. Bears are playing the Packers." Jeez, I go, "Okay." So, I'm gonna go up there and just just bale the hay. It's ready to bale. Put it into the small square bales, drop it on the ground, and if it does rain, it doesn't really hurt the hay. If it rains on dry hay, it's pretty much ruined, but on in the bales, it's okay. So as I'm driving to my farm, going up Bowers Road, which is a little bit, it's a little bit, I guess to be west of Bray Road, we're out west. And actually, my farm, the address is Bowers Road, but I'm the back end of my farm, which is 35 acres, is a quarter mile from Bray Road. So I'm just off of Bray Road in the back end of my farm. And there's two guys standing out in the driveway, and I knew them, and I pulled in. And I said, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And they go, "Oh, we're just hanging out." And I said, "Aren't you watching the Bears play the Packers?" And no. Our wives watch that. I go, "Hey, you want to help bale hay? I got about 600 bales. Just load them on the wagons. We'll pull them inside, and get them out of the rain for what's supposed to come tomorrow." They said, "Yeah, we'll come help you." So they came up, and we baled the 600 bales of hay. 4 o'clock or so, we're standing at the west end of my barn looking out at my hayfield. And one of those farmers said, Lee, this is 2013. I've had the property for 6 years. Lee, the werewolf lives back on your property." And I looked at him and I said, "You're so full of shit, your eyes are brown." He goes, no. He goes, no. My wife and mother-in-law saw it in 2010 on Bowers Road. And he's telling me about all these farmers that have seen it over the years. Well, one of the farmers that saw it was the guy who was a farmer I was crop sharing with, sharecropping with, and he saw it on Bray Road eating a raccoon in 1999. And I go, "Well, he never said anything." No, nobody will talk about it. Nobody will talk about it, And I go, "You're so full of it." But I said, but anyway, a couple of days later, I found a raccoon on Bowers Road. I took it out in the back of my property. I dropped it down in the west hayfield of my property. It just dropped it in 3 feet of grass. The next day I went back there and it was cut open and all the innards were gone. And I go, "Whoa, this had to be a hawk had to get down in there because all the grass was still 3 feet tall." And so I think down there was a hawk. I mean, I grew up on a farm in northern Illinois. I was outside a lot. There were a lot of animals, that I hunted. I hunted deer, I hunted, pheasants and squirrel and rabbits and stuff. And there was the grass wasn't knocked down. And so I go back a couple of days later. Now that raccoon is out of this nest, we'll call it, which has got grass 3 feet tall. It's out of that nest and it's 15 feet away, put in a little pile. And I go, "Wait, a hawk can't do this. He can't fly down, pick up a 20-pound raccoon. He can only pick up about 5 pounds of red-tailed hawk. That's a maximum. And then carry it out and put it in a little pile." So I went down to my neighbor and I said, "Hey, you been out on my property?" He goes, "No, why?" I said, "Well, here's what happened. You're joshing with me." He goes, "No, we were not on your property." And I knew they wouldn't be. You don't go on farmers' property without permission. We all have 12-gauge shotguns, And if you would have bet me in 2013 that I'm going to tell you, Michael, there's a 7-foot tall dog man, shoulders 3.5 feet wide, and there's several of them walking around on my property in 2026. And you said in 2013, Lee, you're going to be saying that, you'd have my chainsaw, my dog, my truck. I would have bet you anything. I'm not going to say there's a 7-foot tall dog man, werewolf dog man walking around on my property, but there is. I have absolute proof of it.
So, yeah, that's very interesting. I know Linda Godfrey, she had come to my city of Green Bay and did a book signing at a Barnes and Nobles here, and they also did a presentation downtown. She's been following it for years, and you said you've met Linda Godfrey, right? She's been on your property?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Many times. Well, if you look at in the book, Monsters Among Us, it's a book by Linda Godfrey, Monsters Among Us. I think came out in like 2017. And in that book, there's about 3 chapters on my farm, but the name they used was Roy Smith. I told them they could use Lee Hampel, but the publisher said, no, we will not use your name. What pseudonym do you want to use? I said, oh, Roy Smith. They said, okay. So yeah, so those chapters, when she was writing those, I was, coordinating with her with that. She was to my farm many times to look at my pictures that I had. I mean, I've been doing research, scientific research for 13 years now. And she was very intrigued with that. I mean, she's a journalist. She interviewed people. She said, Lee, nobody knows how to do this like you're doing it, because I approached it from my training and my mental capabilities of being a scientific experiment. And that's how I've approached it. I've kept a log for the last 13 years. I have albums. I have over 100,000 pictures on my computer, and most of them have paranormal activity, from pictures of the dog man, pictures of orbs, of lights, UFOs, portals. I have hundreds of thousands pictures on my computer. Most of them are paranormal.
So does the beast look like your stereotypical like werewolf you see in the movies, in your opinion?
Yeah. I mean, yes, I've seen him 3 times now. And May 5th of 2017, I was pulling on my driveway at 10:30 at night to go into Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. They're going to Walmart, and I looked ahead, and 2 electrical poles ahead. I mean, I turned to go down the road, May 5th, 2017. Now, this particular time, I did not see any body, but what was next to the road were 2 glowing, luminous, orangish red eyes, and they're about 3 feet off the ground. So I knew right away. I mean, this is not coyote or deer, and there's nothing else that would have these luminous red eyes like this. And I've seen deer and coyote, and they have a greenish to greenish yellow eyes. And 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 then so I knew right away, I'm looking at the Beast of Bray Road. I'm not looking at a deer or coyote. So I accelerated through my brights on. And remember, he's only 2 telephone poles ahead, probably 200 feet ahead. And then he went down the next time I saw it, he was down the embankment. That embankment's 4.5 feet deep, and May 5th, the grass on top was a foot tall. So that embankment's 5.5 feet, including the grass. And he's looking over the top at me. I mean, his eyes are at least 6.5 feet up in the air. I know they are because I know that embankment. And I go, whoa, okay, this is not a deer coyote. I knew it wasn't. Now, I can't tell you how fast, instantaneously. He is 15 to 20 feet out in the field, and he turns, and I see 1 red eye, and another, just blink of an eye. He's another 15, 20 feet out in the field. So now he's like 40 feet out in the field. Now my lights are not reflecting, through the whatever that part of your eye, not the retina, but in your eye, that, predator animals.
Yep. Eye shine.
Eye shine. Now we don't have that, but and prey animals have it. No, prey animals have it.
Predator, yeah, for night vision.
Yeah. And here he's 40 feet out in the field. He turns, that eye, in my mind, now I don't have any way to tell, in my mind, was just as bright out in that field, 40 feet out, not getting reflection from my headlights, as it was up by the road. And then it was gone.
Wow.
But I didn't see any body in that particular time. I did not see body. And I'm thinking about, I should see body. I thought I should see body, when he was down the embankment while he's hid. But when first time he's out in the field, I thought I should see body, but I never saw body. I did talk to a hypnotist to say maybe I saw body, but I didn't register, And I talked with a hypnotist if this was a possibility that I could, generate that particular concept in my mind. And he was very uh, so not giving it much credit that could be a possibility. So I didn't do the hypnotist thing.
Was it just too dark, you think? Because sometimes at night, when it's dark, you might just see a shadowy shape. You know what I mean? Like maybe an outline of something.
I mean, it was nighttime. It was dark. I still thought. I mean, my light. When he was, when he jumped out in the field the first time. I mean, I'm only like 100 feet from where he's at, and I could see his eye, and I could see his eye at 40 feet, or when he's 40 feet out in the field, bright, bright, luminous, orangish red eye. But I didn't, and even up by the when he was up by the road, I should have been able to see body. I'm 200 feet away with my bright lights on him, but I didn't. I never saw body.
And it's eating roadkill you're leaving, so it must have something physical to it that it can digest food. I'm guessing it's not fully
I mean,
spiritual; it's semi-physical.
I mean, and most of the time in the deer, when I would go out there, I put out 20 deer, roadkill deer. 19 of them were carried away within like a week to 3, 4 weeks, but they were carried away, which isn't feasibility for coyotes. They just eat it right where it's at. If they have young, they'll go back and regurgitate the food. They don't take They don't take a front leg off like these deer that I had would do. The front leg would be cut off and taken away in front of working game cameras all the time. I've had 1 to 5 game cameras out for the last 13 years, and so whether he eats it or whether he is carries it away, that's a part that I still have to do more experimenting on. Although if the back end was eaten of the deer, where coyotes would eat, because that's the best meat, or the innards, I would go out.
I was just saying, is any hearts missing or liver? Because wolves go for those organs.
We don't have any wolves in southern Wisconsin, but you got them up there, right?
Towards Minnesota, they do, and between northern Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota, there's gray wolf sightings.
Yeah, we don't have that in southern Wisconsin, but the coyotes will still eat the innards. Yes, yeah. The innards would be gone, or the back end, and I'd go out, I'd see that, I'd look at my SD cards, and there'd be the coyotes eating on the deer. I'd go out, and the front quarter has been cut off and taken away. And I'd either have this paranormal mist, which come often. The deer would be in a position, and the deer would be moved. And in that process, when I would look on my camera, I'd have this paranormal mist that was a cloaking mist, and the deer would be moved or removed. In the process of taking off a front quarter. Some of the deer were missing eyes and tongue. I mean, it was. Most of the deer, the 20 deer, most of them you would consider what be animal mutilation when you look at what my pictures are, and
I think there was cattle mutilations in Delvin that was like that. If you heard of the reports in Delvin, Wisconsin, they had some cattle mutilations in the early 90s where the cows were missing their tongues and eyes, and the innards were split out.
I mean, there's been sightings of the dog man, or the dog man in Lake Geneva and Burlington, Wisconsin, Whitewater. I haven't heard of other ones, but there's been, within a 40-mile radius, there's been a lot of dog man sightings. A lot of dog man sightings. Linda had a map on her wall with pegs in it, and she had a variety of places in Wisconsin. But once you looked at the Elkhorn area, now it was just full of pegs. She had so many people.
He likes it down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it because it's by was it Kettle Moraine Park Linda was saying that that's where they believe the dog man goes into there to eat deer and come back through that state
I
park
don't
down
know.
there.
That's a little further north. Um, I've not heard of dogman sightings up there, but I don't see. I don't. That was Linda's job. Bless her soul, rest in peace. Love her so much. She was the reporter. She wanted to go talk to people who had eyewitness reports. I was not interested in eyewitness reports. I want facts. I want pictures like I have. I want data. I want repeatable experiments, which I've done for the last 12 and a half, 13 years. She'd go talk to people, and of course then she'd write her books or based on those interviews, which was wonderful. She was excellent at it. That I don't have an interest in that from my point of view. I have so much to do on my farm. I mean, I one camera out in August. I had 30,000 pictures on the thing in 3 weeks.
Oh wow.
So so I got to go through. I mean, I'm focused on trying to do as scientific as I can, repeatable experiments and repeatable data on
Yeah,
my farm. Lee Hampel's
it's
Hayden.
almost like a Skinwalker Ranch out there. Almost like they have a similar issue like that out in, was it Utah, where people have like those dogmen on their property doing stuff like what's happening on your farm, orbs, and all that stuff.
Oh, I had a guy come who's written a book on Skinwalker Ranch. He said, "Lee, you got so much more than what they have. They really don't have a cryptid. They had the one dire wolf possibility. I mean, you come down to my farm, I'll take you out and show you tracks that are 5-toed, 7-pad tracks. I see them. I mean, weekly. He crosses my farm, especially in snow or muddy conditions. In a 5-toed, 7-pad track, there's no creature in the world or animal in the world that has 5 toes and 7 pads and is canid in the world, and I've seen that track thousands and thousands of times on my property.
And there might be
And
like maybe a pack or multiple of them, you think?
I have at least 5 different tracks and track lines that I've found, the different different foot structures. One is just a fist guy. It looks like a fist, and I've tracked him a half mile. I've tracked a lot of them a half mile. There's at least 3 different sizes of what I call the 5-toed, 7-pad track. And I mean, I'll have 2 of them come into my farm, like in snow, side by side, walking across my farm, and they're so different than coyote or deer. They're straight line. There's no straddle. No straddle. They're absolutely bipedal, and they're straight lined, and there's no toe drag. They walk like a model, and they're very distinguishable. And I had February 1st. I had 3 of them.
This year?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Three track lines that came into my field and went across my field, and 2 of them were the fist type guys. So that's at least 2 of that. It looks just like they look like a fist, and all the track guys that I've talked to say that's not a track. Well, here's a whole line of them. And then the other one that was walking with them was the 5-toed, 7-pad track, and they are together. I've tracked them carrying deer, and sometimes in the fist guy where he was walking, there might be some deer hair, and then the 5-toed, 7-pad track would be like going in both directions, like running around, and that was in my neighbor's cornfield. But there's at least 5 different track. I think there's about 9 cryptid individuals.
Are they
On
living
my
like
farm.
out in the foliage on your farm? Because I know you have like
No,
a kind of like a brush area. Is that where they're living, or are they just passing through?
no, they don't. I mean, I'll be tracking them in snow, and the track will just stop. No more. This is in snow. It's snow. You go along, and here the track stops. there's no more track. He's not living here. That's absolute proof that there's another universe or a portal, whatever you want to call it. And other times I have pictures of all this. And other times I'll come and there'll be side by side tracks, and they'll walk away right out in my field. I have a lot of pictures of that type of activity. So it comes and goes either through portals. Mathematics says there's multi-universes. Maybe it's found a way to transcend these universes. We live in a three-dimensional.
Like phase in, phase out.
Mm-hmm. I have pictures of. I'm saving that one, but he materialized right in 1 second. There was nothing there, and 1 second later, there was the beast was in front of my camera.
Mm-hmm. Is that land anything Native American wise? You think it could be some guardian spirit, that they shaman summon up to protect the land? You think possibly spiritual?
I found some Indian artifacts on the property. I have found Indian artifacts. I have a couple hundred arrowheads and tomahawks and stuff that I found in northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. I don't think anything unusual. The Potawatomi were through there. The Fox were through there, in that area. I don't see anything, unusual. It's been farmland, whenever southern Wisconsin, early 1800s, the trappers came through, and then the farmers came after that. And sure, there's Wisconsin has a lot of Native American inhabitants, and it has had a lot of them. I don't see anything unusual about my farm. Like I say, I found a couple Indian artifacts there, but that's not unusual at all for southern Wisconsin or Wisconsin or Illinois. I found a lot of them in Illinois too.
Yeah, because I know they maybe Skinwalker, medicine man, or shaman, that they maybe made a thought form, and that's what the man wolf or the Beast of Bray Road could be. Was summoned up. That's one of the theories that Linda told me when she was alive.
Okay.
Linda Godfrey's, that she thinks it could either been a thought form or a native spirit. Because I asked her if she thought it was like a person turning into a werewolf, and she didn't think it was that. She thought it was something more even more supernatural, spiritual, or like I said, like a thought form. Is there any evidence of that?
None that I know of. She found the burial mound. There is a burial mound on Bray Road, but there's burial mounds all over Wisconsin. Yeah, she investigated. That's one thing she did investigate, rather than just be a journalist for. And she had maps of the areas where Native Americans had lived, and but I never saw anything unusual about the area that my farm is in. That was one of her theories that she was working on. Yes.
Yeah, that's what she told me. She thought it might be that, and I was wondering if there was something connected with your land. So where do you think its home base is in general, where it's coming from?
Universe? I have no idea. I wouldn't have that type of data. I know it can be walking across my field and not be walking anymore. Maybe
yeah, that's really interesting.
Or I'll be walking across my field, and they'll just start. The two tracks. And always, whenever that happens, it lands side by side and then walks away in a straight line. But that's not. I saw it 3 times, and the one time I saw it 3:30 in the afternoon in the daytime. It didn't have any wings on it, so.
Have you ever used any more modern equipment, infrared or anything, or electromagnetic readers, to see if it's giving off any energy?
Oh yeah, sure. EMF. The EMF is I've had many EMF meters, and you know what EMF is, Michael?
Yep, electromagnetic field.
Okay. Do you use milligauss or microtesla as units, or do you know about those?
I just ever used the K2 meter, but that's as far as I gone with EMF to see it detect energy field. That's as far as I gone with that.
Does that one just have the lights that go on?
Yeah, the colors. You tell
the color,
the entity to light it up, and it'll light it up to that color that you wanted to on it. The K2.
Yeah, they've been out. People have had those out in my field, and it goes up with the red. Sometimes, other times it doesn't. Now, if we do go to EMF meters, an EMF meter at 4 milligauss, which is a unit of measurement of EMF, 4 milligauss, the meter will start flashing red and beeping, meaning that you should move away from that area to lower to below 4 milligauss. And I mean, I have there's no electrical wires out in my field. Nothing within, quarter mile, a half mile away, some electrical farm lines. So I cannot have any EMF readings out in my field by any standards of physics, because it stands for electromagnetic force. But yet I've had numerous EMF meters, and people bring them too, and they'll just start to go off, which is transient electricity, which is another thing that can't exist. If you're under a high wire, high line, your EMF meter will read like between 4 to 6, and that's why you shouldn't, stay there too long. But it can't be transient, but it is out in my field. I'll go out there, it'll stay at 0, and the highest reading I've had in my field in the last 5-6 years is 1,700 milligauss.
Wow.
I have videos of that, and I take videos when that happens, and it'll just start to go and just takes off 1,200, and at 4 milligauss, it starts beeping and flashing red. And I've had 1,700 milligauss. Now, I did talk with a individual who I contacted, and he had worked out. He now works as an electrician in the Chicagoland area, but he worked as a electrician out in his younger days out in Wyoming and Colorado area, and they have lines going out there. They're 500,000 volts, and his job was they would drive. They would have these EMF meters and drive under or fly a drone or something. They did that too, and if the EMF field was what they figured was too high, then he had to climb. He was one of the guys. They'd climb the towers, and they'd have to put up shielding devices on the tower. And he told me, if they were up right near the electrical line, which is 500,000 volts, and the formula for degradation of EMF is 1/d², which means it's exponentially decreasing as a fraction. So if you're 4 feet away, it's 1/16 less than what it was when you were, within that 4 feet. So it drops off very quickly. The highest he said they would get up in those towers was 55 milligauss. And he said, 1,700. He goes, are you still alive? And I go, I said, yeah, well, yeah. I said, I don't know if that's actual reading, or I have a lot of electronic interference out there, batteries, and I bought a new camera, and 2 days later, I just bought it from Amazon. Now it's inoperable. So there's a lot of electronic interference, or is it really 1,700? And he said, well, they're pretty simple instruments. He said, probably 1,700. I'd move away. But if you move away 100 feet, it goes to 0. So it's not like it's the whole field. It's just like, a small area.
So maybe it's like portal forming where the energy spikes,
That
possibly.
could be,
Is that
sure.
your theory?
Sure. I don't have. I don't know. I can just report the data. You know, it's this is the data. That's my experiment. That's what my experiment done. I've done that experiment many times, and I will get readings in 1200 or 800 many times, 800 milligauss many times.
That's really interesting. Like, and then maybe you might see the footprints after the energy comes through, or
I
possibly.
mean, you see footprints all the time. I see footprints on a continuous basis. So I don't know if that would be a coordinating factor because I see. I'd say 90% of the time I go out there to really look for the Beast of Bray Road footprints, the 5-toed 7-pad, or the fist track. I will find them. So it's not.
Because maybe it's not always in our dimension. I'm guessing that it has to have the energy to come through, and maybe that's what you're reading on your EMF meter.
Sure.
It's trying to manifest itself.
Sure. I mean, it's gonna. I think once we, once we are able to do that, to move between universes, which we will be able to, or maybe not us as Homo sapiens, but some living form will be able to do that. And the universe is 64 billion light years across. We're only 5 billion years old. The sun, a very baby plant or baby sun is it's only 5 billion years old, and there could be universes or civilizations of some type, 1,000 years ahead of us. Einstein said through mathematics says, okay, there are black holes. He proved there are black holes. We didn't find black holes for another 70 years because we didn't have any instruments that could detect them, because we detected light. We couldn't detect dark matter. And then 70 years after Einstein said that mathematics proves there's black holes, then we were able to develop instruments that were able to find the gamma rays that were being enveloped into these black holes, and we were able to locate and to identify the black holes. I mean, science moves slow. Maybe 50 years from now,
Yeah.
100 years from now, maybe people will, some scientists will be working and say, okay, we can go through change universes, and we now have that ability. Well, remember that guy back in in 2026, and he was doing experiments, and he has a lot of data that indicates that was happening then by the cryptids who were in his field. And so that's what my goal is just to develop a scientific basis, scientific background, and hopefully someday it'll be explained. We live in a 3-dimensional world, but we can see a 2-dimensional world, which would be a shadow that only has length and width. Now, in our dimension, we have length, width, and height, but a shadow only has length and width. But we can see it. Now, what do a lot of people say? And I've seen the shadow figures in my field through night vision cameras and through visual situations. And many people have seen the shadow figures in my field. Are these figures that are in a 2-dimensional world, or maybe a 4-dimensional world, and we can't really identify them as being a solid entity within our world of 3-dimensional world? And sure, that's a very strong possibility.
Because we can't perceive it, but it could be there.
Yeah,
basically.
Right. Like say, a shadow is a 2-dimension. That's the only 2-dimensional concept we can see. And they say, well, that's just a lack of light. Well, everything is light. lack of light or different spectrum of light, all we can see is light. That's all we can see. If there's a lack of light, that doesn't mean that that's not an object. That is an object. The shadow is an object, and we can see it, but it has no dimension. It has no height dimension. So now, like I say, if these cryptids would be coming from another dimension, which is a strong possibility, mathematics says there's multi-dimension. There's numerous dimensions.
That's what Einstein said, right? They're lapped on each other.
They could be
Parallel universe.
They could be overlapping universes. That part has not been identified yet. Just in mathematics, through mathematics, it's been proven there are multi-universes. And we don't
have you ever thought about trapping it, finding it like a cage or anything to try to capture the beast?
No, he comes and goes. He's not gonna.
Probably too smart.
He's not gonna stay in a cage. He's gonna come and go. No, I wouldn't do that.
I know people have tried to do that with Bigfoot and other cryptids. Just try to get some kind of specimen. Have you been able to get any scat or fur?
Sure.
Anything physical from them?
I have scat in here. Sure. Mm-hmm.
And what did the scientists say? Is it just say unknown canid when they test it?
Well, we can do the scat. Do you want to do the scat first?
Sure.
So I have the scat. And I called the Wisconsin DNR, and I said, I had talked to the University of Wisconsin biology department. I said, I have scat. Can you tell me what it is from? And they go, no. They said there's too many DNA. There's, you have all the DNA what it ate and everything, and there were bones in it. There were crab apples in it. There was a variety of hair in the scat that I had, and they said no. They said we don't do that. What we would do, if you tell us it's mountain lion scat, then we can test it and we can tell you if it's a mountain lion that came down from Canada to Wisconsin or came down from Wyoming. We would have that type of DNA database. We could tell you. And I go, oh, so if I tell you what it is, you can then tell me where it came from. And they, well, yeah. I said, okay, it's a dog man called the Beast of Bray Road. And she hung up. She hung up on me.
Yeah. She probably thought it was a prank phone call. Yeah.
Can you imagine that? So then I called the DNR. They came out and I gave them some samples of it. And they emailed me back, and it was on DNR. And they said, we talked with a horse trainer, and the horse trainer says it's equine manure. I said, I have 40 horses. It's not equine. I'll tell you what equine, scat looks like. This is not equine scat. So I email them back and I say, okay, I'd like to take a bigger sample to this head a little bit to the trainer. And so I'll drive any place. Okay, where's this trainer? And I'd like to take it to him because I'll prove to you guys. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. I'll prove to you guys this is an equine, And they emailed me back. Now this is the Wisconsin DNR. They emailed me back and said, "Oh, we sent the pictures that you had to a trainer in Massachusetts." I go, there's all kinds of horse trainers in Wisconsin. I'm thinking, and you use a trainer in Massachusetts. You sent pictures to the trainer in Massachusetts, and he says it's equine, equine manure. I go, you guys. So that's the scat story. Okay. So you want to hear the hair story?
Sure. About the fur, the hair.
The hair. It's long hair. So I found in I think 2000. I've had the log. I could tell you, but middle 2016, 2017, I found a big tuft of hair on bushes on my fence line, and I carefully I put it into a bag with gloves on and everything, not to contaminate it and this type of thing. And I again called the University of Wisconsin, and they said, well, the only thing we can do about hair is if you have some of the um, root. We really can't do DNA on hair unless we have some of the root. I'm thinking, I saw it on Law and Order, they did DNR on hair, but you guys can't do it, but Law and Order can. No, but that's a movie. That's a TV show. But um, so I said, okay. So then I looked up and there was a hair um, analysis center in Minnesota. So I talked to them. I think I sent an email or something, and talked with them, and they said, well, if you send a sample of hair, we'll do some work. We may be able to tell what it is, and the DNA. But if you don't have any of the base of the hair, um, the meat of the hair is very difficult. He said, but he said we'll photograph it, and we can do a lot of with microscope, and we can tell, we should be able to tell what kind of hair it is. Well, I don't want to send the hair, so I said to the gentleman, I said, okay, if I get electron microscopic pictures of it, can I send you the pictures, and will you identify the hair? He goes, oh yeah, yeah. So I bought a electron microscope, basically one that has pictures. And I mean, it took it. You could see the whole hair. You could see, supposed to have a shaft and a sheath and that. And I'm looking at these pictures. After I purchased this the microscope, pictorial microscope, and I'm not seeing that. So I sent him the picture, and I said, here's the pictures, microscopic pictures of the hair I have. And he sent back, he said, well, you didn't send us the pictures of any hair. That's not hair. And I go, well, I'm thinking in my mind, it was on this bush. He said, well, we can't identify that because it's not hair.
Hmm.
So there's my hair story. I still have it, and I have the hair, I have the microscopic pictures of it, and he says it's not hair.
That's pretty crazy. That
looks like hair.
Science doesn't even want to help.
Well,
scientists are supposed to be helping us.
Well, I talked with a quantum physics professor who works out in California, and I know him well, and he said, look, nobody's going to get a grant for that. Nobody's going to help you because you're not going to get a grant. And college professors live on grants. I mean, they get grants, and they do research, and then they publicize, and that's how they become known in their field. And he said, nobody's going to even look at this because the time it would take to look at everything you have, is be phenomenal, and there's not going to be any reward for it. It'd just be an interest level. And he said, you're not going to find anybody. Now, the gentleman that just passed in Utah, right, or in Wyoming,
Yeah.
Muldrum. You know him? You heard of him, right?
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah,
Jeff Muldrum, who was a college professor and did show interest in the cryptid area. So because these 5-toed 7-pad tracks were so common, my brother and my brother actually contacted the Natural History Museum in Chicago and said, we'd like to get some tracks identified. And who do you use to identify tracks? They said, we use a guy out in Utah, and he's the best track expert in the world. And so he said, just contact him, and you can send him pictures, and he'll tell you what your track is. Okay. So we did. So we did send him 5-toed, 7-pad tracks. And he sent back this cockamamie picture that it was one animal going, let's say, north at, or let's say 12 o'clock, north at 12 o'clock, and another animal crossed it to get those extra toes in there, like at 2 o'clock. He says 2 different animals. It's not a double hit. And he sends back this whole diagram, which is cockamamie. It's made up. And so I sent him back and I said, well, what about this? I sent him a couple more tracks, I said, okay, here, what about this one? Here's your 5-toed, 7-pad, the center pad and heel pad. And I sent him that. And then all I got back from him was, I'm glad I was able to help you. All he helped was to tell me that track is non-existent. There's no track in the world that looks like that. Because I sent him more tracks and he wouldn't even look at those. But then Jeff Muldrum, I think he contacted him, and then we sent Jeff Muldrum some pictures of the Fiskeye track, and he said, well, you can go to Home Depot and buy stilts and be walking around on your property. Walking around on my property, this guy carries a 150-pound deer. I don't think any drywall guy is going to walk around my
You would
property.
definitely know if somebody's out there doing that.
Well, through cornfields. I mean, I know I've seen him in parades, but he's not going to be walking through a cornfield carrying a 150-pound deer on these stilts. He can't. But that's what Jeff Muldrum told me, because he did. It's just so unusual to have the amount of data I have on tracks. I have a tremendous amount of data on tracks.
It's almost, you might have to get maybe like a zoologist or genetic scientist to take a dabble at some of your physical data, because sometimes you might have to go someone even higher up, you know what I mean, to try to make sense of things.
Well, I mean, I brought the DNR out, Wisconsin DNRs. The one guy said, if you get some more of these tracks, let me know. I'll come out and look at them. So he did. So I contacted him, and I think he was right in Whitewater, and he came out, and I said, okay, I got a whole line of them here. We'll walk over there, and I'll show you where they're at. And they're actually going parallel with my fence line, actually the neighbor's cornfield. And so we go over and look at him, and he goes, oh, he said, yeah, you got an abnormal coyote. I go, abnormal coyote? Yeah, abnormal coyote. I said, look at this track. It's 3 inches by 3.5 inches. That's a big wolf-sized track. Coyotes are like 1.5 by 2.5. I said, sir, this is huge. This is not a coyote, and there's no dogs here. It'd be a huge dog track, and it's got the 5-toed, 7-pad track. He said, yeah, it's abnormal. I go, what
You're
does
like
that
a
mean?
big Saint Bernard or something.
He said, well, it's abnormal. I said, so every step here is abnormal, and he goes in front of my cameras, and I don't get pictures of him, and it's abnormal. And then he looks at me and he goes, I said, look, these are 2-foot steps, and I have 4-foot steps. He takes 4-foot steps sometimes. Steps, not stride. That's a step. Stride is
a big cryptid, big man wolf.
That's an 8-foot stride. Stride is like, for us, for bipedal, is left foot to left foot. So that's an 8-foot stride. And I said, you got a 2-foot step here, a 4-foot stride. And he looks at me, he goes, Lee, he goes, look, we work with nuisance animals and game laws. We don't have anything for something like this. And he turned around and walked over and got in his truck and left.
Wow. Well, they're not much help. I mean, I'm sure they're shocked because this is, an unknown animal. They don't know they can't put it in their box of thinking,
Well, you can, I've had a lot of people look on Google extensively, or, to try and find another track ever in existence that is 5-toed, 7-pad track. And it's never been existed. There's some five-toed feline. The Siberian tiger up in Siberia has five toes, but that's a feline, and that only has five toes and one pad. That's a five-toed six-pad track. There's never been a five-toed seven-pad track. And Michael, if you come to my farm, I'll
Yep,
probably be able to take
definitely
you out
will.
and show you. I'll show you some tracks, or
I
show you a
plan
lot
on
of
this
pictures.
summer to make my way down there, and we could even do a live too after collecting some data. It's exciting.
Okay, I'll be there. I'd probably be bailing hay or something, but
Yeah,
I don't bail.
I always like science and learning new stuff and experimenting. And, we only know what we're taught in school, but there's obviously more. Our minds aren't as big as we like them to be. So we're learning new stuff every day.
Well,
Physics could be wrong,
well, not necessarily wrong, but science uh, has a built-in possibility of a theory. Mathematics depends on deductive thinking, and science depends on inductive thinking, which could have flaws in it, sure, but the mathematics that govern science is solid. I mean, I taught mathematics 35 years, everything through calculus, I mean, mathematics is solid. Mathematics will tell you what is there, and science has to do some investigation and figure out some way to find it, just like the black hole. Now
Yep.
they need to. I mean, somebody will get a grant sometime and say we want to look at a multi-universes and develop some way to be able to identify other universes other than our own, which is really we really are a four-dimensional universe in many ways, because if I tell you to meet me in Milwaukee at a high-rise building, I'd say meet me at the corner of Grand and and Main Street, and we'll on the fifth floor. Well, that's not enough data for you to meet me there, Michael. Right? Tell you meet me at
Exactly.
Grand and Main on the fifth floor. That's length, width, and height. So that's the three dimensions that we live in. But we have the dimension of time that is necessary. I have to tell you a time, 3 o'clock on March 1st, 2026. Now we can meet there. Now we've identified that point in space. That point in space has to be identified with four descriptive adjectives. Three will not identify that point at that time,
Exactly.
or that time when we want it. So, so people say, well, then we live in four dimensions. Okay.
To a
Somebody else lives
sense.
in five.
Yep.
I mean, we're solid here. We're three dimensional.
Three dimension. Yep.
Yeah.
We can see both sides.
Length, width, and height. So.
Yeah. So Lee will be sharing some pictures with me. You send me some, and I'll be sharing it when I advertise this video, so people can see the tracks and some of the data he's collected. It's very exciting, and it's been a pleasure having you on this evening, Lee. And like I said, we'll have to head down there this summer and get some more data and do a follow-up video.
Well, no, thank you. It was very enjoyable. Your questions were very good. You're very pleasant to talk with, and enjoyed it very much. Thank you, and hopefully your followers enjoy it.
Thanks again for coming on, and everybody have a wonderful evening.